Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
Ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello everyone! Today we are going to talk about all the Southern Hemisphere oval codes, oval ball codes.
Yeah!
And also oval field for some of them codes.
Yeah, one of them.
One of them.
Yeah. Just to be a little different.
Yeah. So we are just about to start, well, a couple of weeks into the footy season.
Yeah.
Super Rugby has had 2 rounds. The NRL just finished a magic round in Las Vegas, and they're going to start their first home rounds this weekend.
Yeah.
Starting from tomorrow, and the AFL start playing their games tonight as well.
Yeah. In just under half an hour.
In just under half an hour, at the time of recording.
At time of recording.
How have you been able to catch much of our interesting shape ball codes?
Unfortunately, not a lot. I've got highlights of the Super Rugby and the NRL opening round, those Las Vegas games. I got a running commentary on my bus ride back up from Wellington after my hockey tournament. So
nice.
As far as I've gone. So no, I have seen that the Chiefs have won 2 from 2, which is always great. I'm sure they'll disappoint later in the season, but starting strong is normal.
Yeah, Blues also flattering to deceive, I think. Very early on in the season.
Yeah. Hurricanes also 2 from 2. I think those 3 are the only unbeaten teams so far.
The 3 unbeaten teams. I've watched a bit of some interesting commentary on rugby. I want to get into it a bit after we talk a bit more about the league, but a lot of people angry with Sir John Kirwan.
Not really?
Because I don't know how much everybody really talked about how great the Highlanders versus Blues game was, which was obviously a thriller. Blues winning by 8 points. Then and John Kirwan complained because the Highlanders took about 4 minutes to get their scrum sorted out while they had the lead with about 15 minutes to go, and the referee kind of let them fart around. Eat up the clock, and everybody complains that Sir John Kirwan just keeps going on about how he wants rugby to be like league, and we like big scrums. I think a lot of it feels misplaced to me because, I think John Kirwan doesn't mind the scrums. He's just like, they take too freaking long, and too many forwards fart around and play around with the rules. And for players, I don't blame the referees, by the way. Like, they're doing exactly what they need to do for the sake of player safety.
Yeah.
So, absolutely no complaints about how they are handling the game.
No.
And rugby union doesn't have a taboo against time wasting the way, the referees in soccer, for example, have no taboos about giving players cards for wasting time. No warning, none of that. Just like, you wasted time, yellow card.
Yeah.
There you go. Have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And most fans kind of just go, yeah, that's what we want.
I think
you're empowered to do that.
Yeah, and with football, it's normally pretty obvious when the team's trying to waste time, and the card comes out. You're like, yeah, you deserved your card. You're clearly wasting time. There wasn't any.
Yeah, and football players are almost playing for the card.
Yeah, they're trying to work out how far, when does the card come? Because I'll waste just before that, and it's a really fine line.
When you've got you've got a 1-goal lead and there's like 20 seconds left. You play till you get a card because that's the maximum amount of time you can waste. And
exactly.
Your card is like you're sacrificing for the team, but the thing is, like, you're not going to complain that it was harsh because everybody's kind of knows what time wasting is, and it's whatever the heck the referee thinks is time wasting.
Yeah, exactly. He can't really argue. It's like, well, I guess that's what the ref thought it was time wasting, and now I know.
Yeah. So, like, there's a huge culture war, I think, with rugby. You and I talked about it, where rugby's in this weird position in the Pacific region where, like, rugby league basically fought this 20-year two-front war with AFL and rugby union.
Yeah.
And they've, like, absolutely destroyed rugby union in Australia. Like, they've won the war so convincingly against Union and the other side of the pond that, it makes the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk look like a cakewalk. But, they've absolutely smashed Union, and they're kind of holding their own against the AFL.
Yeah.
They're not expanding into AFL territory anymore. They've got their club in Melbourne, and they're just kind of like, okay, we expand, and, I think in their mind, the NRL thinks, and rugby league in general thinks New Zealand is ripe for the taking, and the Pacific Islands as well. Like, the sheer amount of support the island teams get during the Rugby League World Cup, and the Rugby League World Cup kind of just goes, are you one of the best players in the world? Did you play for Australia yesterday? Yes. Do you want to play for Samoa today? Yep. Okay. Yeah. There you go, buddy. Have fun.
Have fun. Sounds good to us.
You're one of the best rugby players in the world. Our World Cup is not about sporting parity, it's about celebrating rugby league.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's and like, I love the Rugby League World Cup, and I think, but it's not a tournament that takes itself super seriously.
No.
And that's part of the reason why it's a great tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it can't really take itself too seriously when it was basically a tournament of everybody else plays and Australia wins. Maybe the Kiwis. So,
occasionally the UK, but
occasionally they would get close, but it was like those three teams, and really it was Australia, like 80% of the time, or 90% of the time. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a bit hard to try and pretend to be a serious competition with great sporting integrity and close competition when it's like, but that one team's gonna just destroy everybody. So it's much better to
players from that one country or two countries that are not playing for those countries, and they're really, really good. Why don't we let them play for other countries? They can kind of sneak into a qualification. Our qualification standards are very lax. It's only now that I think Lebanon will not be able to pick basically Australian-based Lebanese players in their team. Because, like, your equivalent, like Hazem Al-Masri's dad is born in Lebanon. And I think he's grown up in Australia, or maybe his grandfather, I can't remember. But, like, I think Hazem Al-Masri's son doesn't qualify to play for Lebanon unless he's born there.
Oh, right,
Or maybe his mother's born there. Obviously, I don't know. But, like, as an example, it's just... I don't know the specifics about Hazem Al-Masri's situation, to be fair. I just thought about the first Lebanese-based league player, Lebanese Heritage League player that came to my mind.
What sort of a podcast is this? Where's the research? Come on.
I know.
We've got high standards to live up to here.
I know. I'm letting us down, man. I'm letting us down. So, basically, in the interim, rugby has kind of got two culture wars going on about it. I think there is a group of, like, hardcore Union fans who are basically like, we don't care about stoppages, we love set pieces.
Yeah.
And we don't think the kicking game should be taken out of the game, which, fair, I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
And there's basically another part that just goes, this game is boring when there's no tempo. When the ball just sits around doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I also agree with them.
Yeah. I was going to say, both of them are sort of right. Like, the tactical part of it and the set pieces and the kicking is all quintessential rugby union, right? That's like,
yes.
You need to, that's the tactics. You need to be on top of that. You need to use that to execute your strategy to win. But at the same time, once they're free flowing and that move is, they're moving and everything's flowing forward, then it's just an unbelievable watch. But if it's just grind after grind and it's scrum reset, then it's sort of, you're like, go do something else.
Scrum resets just do my head in. I don't, I said, I like scrums. I played as a forward back in another lifetime, back in the day.
Yeah.
When I could pretend I was good at sport. But the issue with scrum resets is they should, at professional, it doesn't happen at amateur level. It 100% should just never happen at professional level, because it almost always happens on purpose.
Yeah.
And World Rugby just needs to be like, hey, you fart around with the scrum, you waste time, you get a yellow right away, and then next, and you turn over the ball if you do that.
Yeah, I'm fully behind the refs just going straight to a free kick. A bent arm free kick to a side and just picking, even if they just pick one and be like, we've done one reset, this is not working, don't care. Free kick. Get a move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Don't try reset it. It's like maybe one try if you think it's working. Otherwise, just go no free kick. One way or the other, free kick. Whoever you think deserves the ball at that stage. Probably the team with the feed into the scrum should get it most of the time. But like if they're the ones dicking around, just be like, nope, you're wasting time messing around with this, not really trying. So other team gets a free kick.
Yeah, and if you have the feed in the scrum and it does happen, they do to waste time, as you say, dick around. Yeah. And you turn over the ball and the ref just goes, yep, you get it once. Remember, you get it once, boys.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a free kick.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't each get one mistake. First one messes up, then whoever messes up next is conceding a free kick.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're in the 20-yard line, then yep, you've conceded a penalty. Good for you.
Yeah. But yeah.
Because we know why you're trying to waste time.
I actually have another thought on that as well. On penalties in the 25, because I did see a while back, I think it might have been 2 years back, there was a bit of a discussion going on about how teams shouldn't be able to shoot for goal from outside the 25, because it was like, you give away penalty to halfway, someone's got a good kicker, they get 3 points, move on. I actually thought the other way around, which was when you're inside the 25, you can't kick for goal, you have to go for and just make it more attacking. It's like, no, outside the 25, sure, take your 3 points, you're really getting close. Inside the 25, you've got to go for a try. Like, you're pushing hard now, just all in attack. Go. So it's either that or a penalty try. And make them go all in. You got in the 25, you're all in now, buddy. Go for your goal.
Yeah. If you don't want to go for goal and you want to rely on your kicker, kick a dropped goal.
Yeah, exactly. So you got that, you got to take your line out, or take your scrum back to the drop goal. Do it that way if you must get a 3-pointer, but and really make them force the issue of attacking rugby, which is what that's what people want to see, is good attacking rugby and forcing the other team back and really getting on that offensive. It's like, just change the rules to force that to happen, No kicking for goal inside the 25. You say no scrum resets.
I would like to see at least one league try it. Like, why can't Heartland Rugby try it?
Oh yeah.
See what happens. If the earth, if the sky doesn't fall from the earth, maybe we can try it at Super Rugby.
Yeah. Well, they have been doing those sort of experiments at Super Rugby level a few years back. Not that extreme, but when they were trying new rule sets out, they would do it either top 14 or Super Rugby would be the places they would try it out. So they had they had they had professional players with the world's best in among them, but it wasn't at a national level. So you could be like, let's try it out, see how it works at a level with reasonable competition, people that had smart enough brains to comprehend what the changes were, and referees that were good enough to enforce them.
Ultimately, taking a penalty from 20 meters doesn't take that much skill.
Yeah.
Like, you're missing it, you're really, as a kicker, that's a bad day in the office for you. You'd expect to be 99%.
Let's because you're right over on the touchline or within like 5 yards of the touchline. Maybe that percentage is dropping, but most kickers these days are getting those sort of kicks most of the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and anything that's resembling in front, like you may as well just give them the points. Which is the other option. It's like, there's a penalty, that's 3 points, move on. Why waste time kicking it? In fact, they're likely to get it anyway, so...
Yeah, I think just sinking time into actually kicking the goal is a waste of time. Because at least with the XFL, they there is no point after the touchdown.
Yeah.
There's no extra points. You either try to score from 1 yard for 1 point, 2 yards for 2 points. Sorry, 5 yards for 2 points, and 10 yards for 3 points.
All right.
And that makes it strategic. That's actually really cool.
That is really cool, actually. Yeah. You're saying this
because you get a choice between a extra point or 2 points in the NFL is good. I think that's a really good rule.
Yeah.
Because 7 points is not safe, you need 8. And the XFL makes it you need 9 to more than a 9-point lead to be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in theory, a team can score 9 points.
Yeah.
And if I were an XFL coach, I would practice that hardcore, because you're gonna need to be able to score your point after anyway from 1 yard, from your 1 yard line. Why not just practice the 5 yard line, give yourself a bit more space so you can get to 2 points, and then practice the 3 yards for I don't know why in the NFL teams don't just go, if I score first, the first touchdown, I'm gonna go for 2, just to put pressure on you, because now you have to go for 2.
Yeah.
Scoring the extra point doesn't get you close.
Yeah. Just make it a 2 point conversion all the time and force them, draw them into that war of attrition.
Yeah, I mean, they still have field goals in the XFL.
Yeah.
Famously, in the first ever XFL game, the kicker missed a field goal and immediately had to go to the sideline and give a small interview, talk to reporters. Brutal.
That is brutal.
Absolutely. But he faced up, so all credit to him. There are some rules you can look at, and a lot of arguments I hear from league fans who are annoyed with John Kerwin were oh, why is the NFL so popular when they stop-start? I'm like, okay, because they sell a lot of ads. Do you really want rugby to become the NFL, where it's an 80-minute game that turns into a 3.5-hour game? I am vehemently against. I'm a casual rugby fan. I will never watch a game of rugby again if that's what happens to rugby.
No, they can't.
I don't care if it's the World Cup final.
Yeah, they can't do that to it. I mean, that's just silly. But, yeah, I mean, hopefully World Rugby sort of gets its head out of it, wherever it's put it, and starts looking at some of these changes, because rugby does need some changes. As we pointed out last year, there's issues with the third ref. Yeah, third reffing in general, rule sets. Like, it just needs a bit of a thought process through it.
I think we both agree, the only sport that, with video ref, that's a team sport that's got it sorted was cricket. Like, has it down the best.
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately it's been hard to reenact that exact system, but I think we both agreed the NFL's bunker system sort of has actually managed to find a good spot for rugby
NRL,
league.
you mean?
NRL, yes, sorry, NRL. Bunker system's got itself.
NFL's not good.
No, NFL's not good. NRL. Too many acronyms,
I don't
man.
watch enough AFL to say whether or not that's good or not.
No.
But so the other part is they kept getting annoyed that John Kerwin kept going like be more like league, just make your decisions, get on with it, don't like keep farting around trying to get like the perfect outcome with exactly. We know a perfectly reffed game is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And your rule, I think rugby has forgotten, and football is very close to forgetting, that the referee is not there to perfectly enforce the rules. That is not his job. His first job is player safety.
Yeah.
Obviously. Second job is to make sure a game is possible.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you can have a game without falling into nonsense, that is a referee's second most important rule. Then enforcing the rule book as well as he can. Yeah. But like making sure a game can happen is more important than that.
Yeah. And really the reinforcing the rule book is enforcing the rule book in an even manner. I mean, if they get it wrong, if they're wrong the same both ways, then it sort of doesn't really matter.
If they're consistent in their interpretation with a rule set like rugby, which is highly interpretive, fine. You're consistent with your rule set. If you make a mistake, much like the referee in the World Cup final against the All Blacks admitted, that's also okay.
Yeah.
And he said, I made a mistake, and he didn't try to make up for it by penalizing the South Africans unnecessarily for not doing anything wrong. You know, that would have been that's not what we want him to do. He's gone, oh, my bad, and you go, okay, fine.
Yeah.
We're all adults here, that happens.
Exactly. The only real disappointment there is there's no process for him to be able to walk it back, having realised that before the impact of that decision was made. Like, it's a little different if they'd kicked the goal and the goal happened and it was like at the next restart he looked up and was like, oh yeah, I messed it up, sorry guys. Like, no, well, continue on. Like, then it's too late, but it was like before the kick's taken, it's like, should have a way of going, yeah, wait a sec, I messed stuff up, let's rethink what we're doing.
I mean, I don't know, does Union want there to be coach's call, like they have, like, you know, the way in like the equivalent of DRS in cricket, or the way they have in NFL, where a coach can just go like, hey, we noticed this, can you re-look at that call again? I mean, we already agreed there's too many stoppages in Union. I think that's a bad idea. That's a bad precedent.
That is a bad precedent. It's like, it's just seems weird to be able to apologize for a call before the impacts of that call are felt. Like, you could, if you realise you're wrong, you could reverse the call. That's just the bit that gives me, like, oh yeah, like, as a hockey ref, I can do that. Like, if that's what I did, like, I called one because I thought it hit someone's foot, it was the other team's. Yeah, if it's before they take the ball, I can be like, oh yeah, blow my whistle twice, be like, sorry guys, like, I just messed it up, I thought it was that foot, but I've just realised it was the other guy's foot, it's the other way. Anybody would have a bit of a grumble, but they would get on with their lives. Yeah.
And I feel like there was a time when rugby refs did that.
Yeah.
Like a rugby player would go, surely the interpretation should work this way, and then they go, you're right, okay, we're doing the way you said. Like, I swear that used to be how rugby union refs reffed games. Because they used to be the best.
Yeah.
At reffing. Like, 100%.
Yeah, well, it used to be, as you said, like, the ref in a union game was first out there to make sure players were safe, and that was their primary duty, and they're like, the rules, rules don't necessarily make you safe, so I'm going to make sure that happens, because this is an inherently dangerous game. Like, you are crashing into each other at high speed, and you're all muscular, strong people. Like, if we don't look out here, someone will get seriously hurt. Like, it's just the nature of this game, such is life. And then secondarily, as you said, they were there to make sure the game actually happened, like, not just devolve into a brawl or something. It actually resembled a game of rugby. And then third, worried about what the rules actually were. Which, I think you're right. There was times where the rest would stop and be like, okay, we know something happened. Let's just take a moment here. I think this is what happened. And then they might, or their touch judges would come over and be like, oh, no, I saw this other thing. They're like, oh, yeah, no, you're right. Okay, yeah. Other way.
Or even sometimes a player would go, I understand, because he'd explain why he's come to his decision, and if a player's like, surely it should work this way by your own logic, and they could argue that point, and they did often, refs would go, oh yeah, okay. They didn't take it as a personal affront of how dare you, know? And then they were like, okay, fair enough, I get what you're saying. Or even if they're like, no, I get what you're saying, but no, we're doing it this way, players go, okay, fine. You got to say your piece though, and nobody nobody. To be fair, that bit is still there in rugby union. Yeah. Like, I think referees are more than happy to listen to a player, appeal their case in a polite and,
Yeah. It's the art of the fullback, right? Oh no, the fullback of halfback. Yeah. The halfback gets to be a bit chirpy and be the rules lawyer about something, and the ref will just go, but you're wrong, so it's okay.
Yeah, or some teams that's the number 7 and captain, but we don't talk about that. But so rugby's big thing is in the southern hemisphere, because I don't know how it's like in the northern hemisphere. I'm like I said, a casual rugby fan at best. Maybe rugby, as far as I can see, is still very much a private school boys game. There's just a lot more private school boys in the UK, and they are a bit more competent and with their money and run their clubs better.
Yeah.
And that's all over the Northern Hemisphere, like, apart from a few countries like Wales and Ireland. And South Africa is also still very much a private school boys sport, rugby.
Yeah, definitely.
So... and almost every of the countries it's spreading out towards. Rugby is trying while the World Cup is expanding, it's almost in every country it's expanded to, it's still a private school elite boys club, right?
Yeah.
Like, apart from countries like Georgia, where it's a bit more of a people's game.
Yeah.
I'm talking like outside the top 10, like outside the Six Nations Rugby Championship countries. Japan is very much a private school boys club. The USA is very much a private school boys club situation. Canada is similar.
Yeah.
And then while the game is growing, and the Pacific Islands are the exception, kind of, that proves the rule, because they are influenced by New Zealand.
Yeah. They're really just an extension of New Zealand.
And a bunch of their players are born and brought up through the New Zealand rugby system.
Yeah.
And Wales has always been the exception.
Yeah.
That almost sort of proves the rule.
Yeah, exactly.
But other than those two, and Ireland now. Ireland used to be a private school boys club situation. It's not anymore.
No. The last few years, last probably 10 years, I guess, it's sort of turned into much, less of the private schoolboys and more of the people's game. Which is shown in the rise of Irish rugby, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is why they're always competitive now at the Six Nations level. They're arguably basically Wales with more money and more people.
Yeah, exactly that.
So yes, obviously, league is growing, union is growing around the world, and that's a good thing. And the World Rugby have done a good job with that.
Yeah.
But in the Pacific, in the South Pacific here, it's definitely fighting hard to survive, even in New Zealand with the All Blacks. If the All Blacks were not the All Blacks, like if the All Blacks were only as good as, late 90s, early 2000s All Blacks were, in terms of...
It wouldn't survive.
It wouldn't survive the same way.
No.
And there's already, if they ever have a second NRL franchise in New Zealand, and I feel like that's going to happen someday.
I feel like it's going to happen sooner rather than later. But
I feel like it'll happen within the next 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. I would be surprised if it hasn't.
And if given that we have if we have a second NRL franchise, given the Warriors are already really, and other NRL clubs are already really good at scooping up young high school rugby talent around the country and convincing them to play league because, money.
Money, yeah.
And you can earn money from a younger age and become a professional.
Yeah.
And do all these things, and there's another professional team in New Zealand. That process can only get bigger, and union in this country is not just fighting a single front war with rugby league. They're fighting against basketball, probably the most biggest threat in terms of grassroots level and number of players, and soccer is probably the second after them.
Yeah, well, football, I think soccer is still the biggest grassroots game. So
team sport, yes.
Team sport, yeah. So it'll definitely be a big threat there, but I think less so at sort of the high school collegiate sort of competition level, but basketball's definitely getting there. Football's still big there anyway, so it's still a danger. But yeah, you're right that other unions fighting in multi-front because there are many other threats that are growing.
Yes, and in New Zealand, next World Cup, New Zealand's gonna be there probably.
Yeah.
Oceania get a free spot.
And the football World Cup,
tournament, and in the football World Cup, and plus 1/3. So even if somehow Tahiti, Fiji, or the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea were to get that spot, New Zealand has another 1/3 chance to get through.
Yeah, exactly.
Because very unlikely for New Zealand to be the third best team in Oceania.
Yeah, that would be.
It could happen one day, but very unlikely.
Very unlikely. I mean, they have lost Oceanic competitions before, so once again, just take
absolutely
2 bad games at the end of it to knock them out that way somehow. So not completely impossible.
I think Tahiti and the Solomon Islands have both played in the Confederations Cup, right?
Yeah, and Fiji as well, I think, didn't they?
And Fiji as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not impossible. Anything can happen in a single game, even over 2 legs, 2-legged game. But New Zealand is the most well-funded football association in Oceania by a long shot, and they're very likely to qualify for World Cups and play in Confederations Cups, and teams from New Zealand will go on to play in Club World Cups. It is the stated aim of City Football Group to own a football club in every confederation.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if Auckland City changed their kit to sky blue in a few days. If the City Football Group buy Waitakere FC, Waitakere United, I will revolt if they make us change our strip from red to blue.
Yeah, I think they'll buy the blue team first.
probably.
Yeah.
Like a team that's already named a city, you mean? By them.
Yeah, exactly.
And is the most successful team in the country.
Yeah. Already plays in blue, has city in the name, is very successful. I don't
So what
really
you're
feel...
saying is we need to become Red Bull Waitakere.
Yeah,
Convince Red Bull to we're the Australasia branch.
exactly. I think it can happen.
I think so too. But as that's rugby's situation. So this is why, if you're wondering why John Kerwin always talks about trying to bring out the good parts of league into union, this is why. Ex-players, I think, very strongly feel this war. Even if the fans don't. Like, commentators who are ex-players and they're vocal about it. And someone like John Kerwin doesn't hate league. You know, he played league. He played for the Warriors. He's from South Auckland, you know.
Yeah.
League is in his blood, but yeah, so he's always going to look at league in a favorable light.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be that problem, and you know, especially as the NRL looks to expand. Like, you know, you've got an expansionist power next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's already defeated your forces on their country.
Yeah.
Like, overwhelmingly.
No, exactly. I think they're right. League will look to expand in New Zealand. I don't see how they won't. The NRL will definitely want a bigger share over here.
I mean, I think it's kind of already, everybody thinks it's already going to be Papua New Guinea in the next license.
Yeah.
Then if they decide to get another one at a time or two at a time, I feel like one of the next, because I think a 20-team league for the NRL is probably what's going to happen. You probably end up with conferences of some sort.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think both the I think after PNG, you're probably going to have another team in South Queensland, in that Brisbane area, just because that city is one of the fastest growing in Australia.
Yeah.
And like, I think 2 is not enough. Well, 3 if you count the Gold Coast Titans, which I don't.
No.
Really. Like a team that's South Queensland, that's a bit more inland maybe, like around Ipswich, which is like the area that's apparently going to explode in population.
All right.
In the next 10, 15 years. And then, you know, it's already more populated than basically New Zealand outside the Golden Triangle.
All right.
So if you don't count the Golden Triangle, there's more people in there than in New Zealand.
Right. Yeah.
And already, so there, you know, we all know Queensland can support another rugby team, and then probably a New Zealand team. And I think I'd be shocked if the NRL doesn't want to do something in New South Wales.
Yeah.
To like a regional team somewhere like Wagga Wagga, not just on the coast.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've got Canberra, but a team that's a bit more inland New South Wales to be like the Canberra rival.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the thing. Like half the player, it was really funny because half these coaches were like, "Oh man, if these New Zealand fans think league is so great, why don't the All Blacks play league?" I'm like, I agree with you, 100%.
Yeah.
This is my idea. You guys have been reading my blog.
They've been listening, haven't they?
They've been listening to me.
Yeah.
All these super franchises, and the Waratahs can just be the New South Wales Waratahs. They play rugby league all around New South Wales, New South Wales.
Yeah. Done. Sorted.
Reds can be your Queensland franchise. Done.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've got 2 franchises in Canberra, Brumbies and Raiders.
Yeah.
You actually have a city derby.
Ooh.
But yeah, of course it'll never happen. But we can always dream.
We can dream.
But so, looking at the table, as you said, the Chiefs have won 2, the Hurricanes have won 2, and the Blues have won 2.
Yeah.
Blues managing to win the Gordon Hunter Trophy against the Highlanders.
Yeah.
They beat the Fijian Drua at home.
Yeah.
Chiefs managed to beat their rival Crusaders.
Yeah.
And also managed to pick a win against the ACT Brumbies. Make it sound like it was closer than it was. It was a thrashing of the Brumbies, who the Crusaders are in a bit of a shocking start, losing a close one to the Chiefs, as we said, and they've lost to the Waratahs.
I know that's a big one. They haven't really started well in their post Razor Robinson era, so I mean
it'll take a while.
Yeah, it'll take a while for that as well, and it's not like the Crusaders have traditionally started strong. Like losing to Waratahs, okay, that's a big thing, but like last
Chiefs
year,
and the Waratahs.
Yeah, Chiefs. They lost to the Chiefs first round last year as well, so it's not that big a thing. But they lost to the Fijian Drua third round last year, so.
Yeah, and the Tars are not particularly strong this season yet so far. Like they lost to the Reds in Brisbane, admittedly. The Blues look very good in my opinion. Just watching highlights, obviously.
Yeah.
We had the Pacifica Derby with the Drua playing Moana Pacifica. Moana going with a narrow win there. Yeah. 39-36. Hurricanes also managed to get a close win against the Reds. The Force losing to the Rebels. The Rebels didn't look that great either. They lost 3-30 against the Brumbies. So the Western Force look like they might be the whipping boys of this season. 14-44. Brother's going to be very upset.
Yeah. Had 40 points put on them twice. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the best.
I think usually when the Force are doing this, he usually supports them until they peter out. And then he's like, no, I've always been a Chiefs supporter, or I've always been a Blues supporter. What are you talking about? Or I've always been a Hurricane supporter.
Like what? Boys on a day, man.
My other brother really likes the Hurricanes, but only because when we were kids there used to be a TV show called The Hurricanes about a football team called the Hurricanes. Like a soccer football team.
Yeah.
And their chant, in the TV show, their chant used to be Hurricanes, Hurricanes. And for a while, the Hurricanes rugby team used that chant. In the early 90s.
Yeah. That is just hilarious all round, really.
The Blues, look, we all know they're gonna peter out at some point, but they might make the playoffs. Without the Crusaders there, they might actually make the final. You never know.
They made
next week we've
final a couple of years back, so you know.
Yeah, they look pretty good, to be fair. I'm just wary. I'm wary of anticipating our first trophy in 20 years and the cup. So next week we've got the Pacifica playing the Rebels. I think the Pacifica look really good. I think they're gonna be. I don't know if the Rebels are gonna hold up against them. Waratahs versus Highlanders. The Highlanders have won one, lost one, and it's a close game that they lost to the Blues, as we mentioned, and they comfortably beat the Moana Pacifica. The Waratahs haven't been consistent either, but it's being played in Australia. Like, I always think a New Zealand team's going to beat an Australian team, so Highlanders, I think, over there.
I mean, the Tars have just beaten the Crusaders in Christchurch, so who knows? But I'm with you. I'd always back the New Zealand team over an Australian team. So go the Highlanders.
Yeah. Go the Highlanders. Drua versus Crusaders. I think the Drua.
Something Fiji again, isn't it?
Yeah, they haven't won a game yet. Neither have the Crusaders. But it's in Fiji. Why not?
Well,
give Crusaders a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah. And the Drua famously beat the Crusaders up in Suva last year, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think it will be either way it will be a close match, but yeah. Let's give it to the Drua because if the Crusaders aren't looking that great, it is up in Fiji, so that's hometown advantage right there. And a home heat advantage too.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, the Brumbies have had one really bad performance and they had a win, and the Force have looked terrible, but this is being played in Canberra, so I think the Force are probably not going to win that one. Brumbies for me.
Brumbies easy there, I think.
Then we've got Hurricanes versus Blues.
Ooh, yeah.
The match of the round. It's being played in Wellington. We all know the Blues win this game, they're probably going to win the competition, right?
Yeah. They go pretty close if they win this one.
Yeah, this will be a show of how good they are. Like, it'll almost pretty much be put them in a good position to qualify for the finals.
Yeah.
Then effectively they would have beaten 3 teams in a trot in their conference.
Yeah.
So,
which is always a big step forward. So.
Yeah. And then next it's the Reds versus the Chiefs. The Reds have had mixed form as well. But this is being played in Brisbane.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are just too good. Too much pedigree. Too good a team.
Yeah. The Chiefs are looking super good. It's a New Zealand team against an Australian team, even if it's being played in Australia. Like, I don't see the Reds standing up here. They lost to the Hurricanes. Their win was against the Waratahs, so...
Alright. Yeah. Let me tell you, fans, you can clip this now. I predict a Battle of the Bridge final for Super Rugby.
Battle of the Bridge, eh? Which bridge?
Battle of the Bridge. Blues versus Chiefs.
Wrong bridge.
Wrong bridge?
Is there a bridge?
Oh,
That's
Battle of the Bombay Hills.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Battle of the Bridge is North Harbour versus...
Yeah.
I forget North Harbour don't play in the Chiefs anymore.
No. They've been... They made
and haven't for almost 20 plus years.
Yeah. They made them a bit more sensible. But yeah, we Battle of the Bombay.
Or the Battle of Takanini.
Yeah.
That's what I predict. I think it'll be played in Auckland, Eden Park, sold out. May as well get your tickets now.
Yeah. Book your accommodation.
Yep. Because if we look at the table, currently, obviously the 3 New Zealand teams at the top, then we've got the Reds, Highlanders, and Brumbies. I think the Reds, sneakily, might be a really good team, for the Australian side. I think, and the Waratahs, not too sure about the Brumbies or the Rebels long term, and definitely not too sure about the Force.
Yeah.
I think Moana Pacifica, Fiji, and Drua once again mid-table.
Yeah.
Crusaders are in a rebuilding season.
They are in a bit of a rebuilding season.
So, doesn't it 3 teams from each conference go through?
Oh, I forget what they're up to with the with their thing. I think they may have even got rid of the conferences these days. It may just be top 8.
Top 8? Surely that's too many.
Pretty sure it was top 8 last year. Where are we?
Yeah, it is top 8.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought they changed it. Took away the conferences and just made it a straight top 8, which is like basically the entire table, which is always hilarious, but...
Yeah, so it's, I mean, 3/4. Okay, let's just call it now. I think the Force, the Crusaders, the Rebels in the end, and the Drua are not going to make it, in my opinion. All the rest will make it. It's easier to pick the guys you don't think will make it.
Yeah. So you had the Crusaders not making it. You don't think they'll rebuild quite far enough?
I think they'll rebuild. Coach is going to take time to get their methodology, and also the team is aging. At the Crusaders.
Aging. I still think they'll have enough firepower, enough class to make top 8 though.
So you're picking every New Zealand team to make the top 8?
Yeah. Oh, well, other than technically the Moana Pacifica, but I have them drop out in the.
I think the Moana will.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get close, but I think Crusaders will get there. I think Moana will be just out, and either one of the Rebel or the Waratahs will be out as well.
Oh, okay. You're not. You think the Brumbies will make it?
Yeah, I think they'll just do just enough to hold in there.
Okay.
7 or 8. I think Crusaders will be bottom half as well. Brumbies will be bottom half of that. So the Rebels or Waratahs will be 8. And then.
Okay, so you're saying Force, Drua, Pacifica, the Moana.
Yeah, and then one of Rebels.
One of the Rebels or Waratahs will not make it.
Yeah. Probably more likely. Yeah, probably more likely the Rebels not to make it.
Yeah.
Waratahs
cool.
tend to be able to pull something out of the bag normally to keep themselves in there.
Yep. Fair enough. I like it. Moving on to the greatest game there is. The NRL had 2 great games in Las Vegas, I thought. Yes. Manly Seagulls look really, really good, and the Sydney City Roosters look really, really good.
Yeah.
We have to put an asterisk. Well, the Broncos were grand finalists last year, so they won that comfortably.
The fact that the Broncos didn't look as good is the more surprising bit to me. Like, normally Roosters start pretty strong. Seagulls normally look pretty strong early on, so.
And I believe they'd been there out for like a week or so, just to make sure they could acclimatize to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And both all these teams are all getting a bye next week, I believe. Oh no, they're not.
No, they're not. It's just that they played last week, and then this weekend's the rest of the round 1, and then so they technically have a rest this weekend because they played last weekend.
Fair enough. They're because the Broncos are playing Thursday night football next week. Looks like against the Toes, against the Bunnies.
Yeah.
So I think Manly has looked really good. Then we have the Knights versus the Raiders.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Knights are probably going to win that at Marathon Stadium. We've got the Warriors playing the Sharks at home. That was absolutely backing the Warriors there over the Sharkies. Storm play the Panthers. Game of the round, obviously. I think.
Definitely.
I think we're gonna see. I've got a question for you to come back to regarding Penrith, but Storm. I think Penrith are gonna win this game, even though it's in Melbourne. I think the Storm are gonna come out strong, but Panthers have that attempting 4-peat swagger going for them.
Yeah.
next we have a potential fight for the wooden spoon game between the Eels and the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I hate to say it for all my friends in Western Sydney, but I think the Bulldogs have this one, as most of my friends are Eels fans.
Yeah.
Out that way in Parramatta. Then we have the Titans versus the Dragons. The Dragons are, even though they're going to go up to the Gold Coast, they looked very impressive last season. I expect they've done pretty well in free agency as well, so I think they'll continue. They're gonna get a comfortable win. And Dolphins versus Cowboys, a Queensland derby.
Yeah.
I think Dolphins, obviously, you can never count out Wayne Bennett.
No, exactly.
And it's the Wayne Bennett factor.
Yeah.
So I'm picking him, the Dolphins to win the game. Now, the question I wanted to ask you about the Panthers. Like, I had this discussion. Currently, of players who play in a team sport, is Nathan Cleary the most dominant player playing in a team sport in the world, in terms of how he dominates the competition in every game he plays?
Yeah, that's...
Like, he's absolutely a revolutionary player. Like, he's doing something ridiculous, like 700 meter kicking for 400 or 500 meters a game.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why the Panthers are so difficult to beat.
Yeah.
And like, he's basically, I think I've looked at some ridiculous stats. He's gotten kicked more than 4,000 meters for the last 4 years.
Wow.
For territory.
Yeah.
And obviously his place kicking is on point.
Yeah.
And the Panthers have other good kickers in their team as well, like the other players in the halves. Like, nobody in world sport, like, we all talk about Patrick Mahomes having the big clutch gene.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls in a row, and have won 3 Super Bowls under Patrick Mahomes, and he was Super Bowl MVP in all 3 of those games. He was not necessarily dominant in any of those games.
Not in the same way.
Not in the same way. Look, he threw 2 picks in that first Super Bowl against San Fran. The Eagles only lost because of a mistake made by their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Not necessarily because Patrick was so dominant. And the Super Bowl just being, San Francisco came really close to winning, and there was some really bad calls, I think, by the referees. And, he didn't play a perfectly clean game either. I was like, Nathan Cleary just, basically coming back from, 24-3?
Something like that, yeah.
Or was it 24? And just, because there's like this viral clip of Gordon Tallis like absolutely going nuts and the 60-minute mark because, Brisbane are going to win. And like, God bless him, he's absolutely right to be celebrating at that point. And like, every minute onwards, he's just like getting more and more, like, at one point he's just like, he's like at first scared, and then he's like, and then he's just like, wow, this kid, like, his face is like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I can't even get mad.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to get back to your question about whether there's anybody more dominant in a team sport in the world, it's hard to think of anybody that sort of has that aura about them at the moment, like playing right now. Obviously, you got.
I think, like, you could make some arguments for something like, okay, maybe Alison Becker is the best at his position in a team sport.
Yeah.
Or Justin Tucker, the Ravens kicker, is the best at his position in any team sport because he's got a kicking accuracy of 92% or something ridiculous.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, and obviously he's also got the record for the longest distance.
Yeah.
And then you've got the someone like Alison Becker, who's clearly the best goalkeeper and has been for the last at least 4 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
In the world.
Yeah.
That's like specifically saying nobody's better at the thing that they do in a team. Where there's a specialist role in a team sport.
Yeah.
Versus what, like, Nathan Cleary is almost like present day rugby league's equivalent of Bradman.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think with him, with Cleary, it's sort of the thing that you know what he's going to do, but you can't really stop him. You've just sort of got to outplay him somehow, and it's, especially if he's on form, it's like, just how can a team do something? And I remember I think it was the preliminary final against the Warriors, where the Warriors also looked pretty good, and then he just started running the ball and kicking the ball and just took it up a notch or two, and just there was nobody on the field that could keep up with him, and he did the same as the final, just went to win. It was like, no, we're winning this game, I've decided.
Yeah. I think it's unfair that Penrith have the best player in the league, maybe one of the best players ever to play in their team. One of the best coaches to have ever coached ever. No question, best coach in the league right now.
Yeah.
The best system for bringing in good young players so they can recycle they can allow players to go away and earn money in another team for a few years before they come back to Penrith, and it's fine. It's like a rinse repeat.
Yeah.
And like the best average quality of player.
Yeah.
In the team. Like, even if you take out Nathan Cleary, like, just to take out the outlier, everybody else, average quality is higher than the average quality of every other team.
Yeah,
exactly. In the league.
Yeah.
And like, it's unfair that they have all four of these things.
Just goes to show what they've been building over there in Penrith, really.
Up in the mountains, yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair to Penrith, they have been building to this for a few years now. So the fact that they're now, they're making the hay now from all that hard work, like, there's a fifth thing that makes it also unfair, is that you can't fault them for it. Like, they're all those good things. You're like, you know what? You deserve this, Penrith. You deserve it.
Because, they have made mistakes. Like that first spell where Cleary was there that didn't go as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was clearly building something, and then he left to go to West, I want to say, before coming back.
Yeah, I think that's where he went off to,
And the team does look like that setup is really, really good. And this is the thing, there are so many good teams in the NRL right now. Like, clearly Penrith is better than everyone, but it's a crowded field after that, right? Yeah. Like, there's your Storms, there's your Broncos, there's your Manlys, Warriors, there's your Knights.
Yeah.
Any one of these are all teams you it's in Super Rugby, we were like, beating around the bush to try and figure out, but it didn't take that long because we were just like, okay, it's so, there's 8 teams make it out of 12. We just have to pick 4 we think aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
NRL, picking 8 teams that we think are going to win, going to actually make the finals is really hard to pick.
Yeah. Very hard.
Your top 8, obviously we picked Penrith.
Yeah.
Storm.
I would pick the top 4 from last year to still be top 8 this year.
So Penrith, Storm, Warriors, Broncos. And Broncos. So yep, I agree with that. And then you've probably got Manly.
Yeah, I think so. Probably Roosters, I guess.
Probably the Roosters.
So that's 6
probably
now.
The Knights.
Yeah, the Knights, that's 7.
And probably the Rabbits. Or the Dragons. They're both good.
Both good.
Even the Cowboys are good.
Yeah, even the Cowboys. This is where it gets hard. It's like you've got there and you're like, but
7 to 9 is competitive. 6 to 10 is super competitive.
Yeah, I think so.
Spot, because there's a bunch of teams that could plug in there. Like, I don't expect the Raiders, for example. I don't expect the Tigers, the Raiders, or the Titans. Those are three I'm just going to discount off the bat.
Probably.
But after that, I'm like, maybe. Eels, probably not either.
I was going to say, Eels, you probably...
Dogs, probably not either, so...
Yeah.
5, so you've got 12 teams, which we all go,
Yeah.
They're all contenders for making the... Like, maybe the Dolphins you can discount, so 11?
Yeah.
11 out of 17 teams, you're going, they could all make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun of the NRL, right? That's generally how it works, is that you have your sort of top 4 or 5, which you're like, yeah, these will definitely make them, and are probably contenders for the win. But then you've got sort of 6 through 11 or 12, which like this is all going to be, these are these teams, but which order they end up, and any of them are good enough to beat anybody else, or even the top 4. So if they make it into the finals, well, you know, sure, the road's a little harder, but they can pull off the wins they need to win this, so who knows?
Pretty much. I think you're right. Like, when we said that we think the top 4 are going to make it into the playoffs this season, we're not suggesting they'll also finish top 4.
No, I'm saying those top 4 will be in the top 8 somewhere.
Yes, 100% agree with you.
That's also, just important to note. Just because I'm putting there because the top 4 last year, they were clearly good enough teams. All of them look as good as last year, but that doesn't mean to say to me that they're going to automatically be top 4 this year. I think that just means they'll be good enough that they should have been in that top 8 somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they have a really bad season, Warriors, and fall into that sort of 19, 11 spots, but I don't see it even for the Warriors. I mean, Warriors are very good at having, black and white seasons year on year out. Hot one year, cold the next. But
what are you saying? This is gonna be our year.
I mean, no, I was about to say, but that's clearly not going to happen this year. This is going to be our year.
No.
We've got a good team last year. It's only getting strengthened. You got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back as well. Like, he looks good in the preseason. He was playing centre, which looks like it's going to solve some problems for the Warriors as well. Still to be tested fully whether he can spot into centre well, but I think it flows well from his junior years as well. So, and that sort of centre.
I think Isaac Luke is going to be better as well. I think Isaac Luke's also going to be better this year than he was last year, and Delaney. As well.
Yeah, I think
there's a good core group of players in the Warriors who are, they're big, strong, and they like to muscle. Their forwards like to muscle it, right?
Yeah, always. But I think, what they learned from last year will take them into this year, and they'll be better. And they seem to have strengthened up what they need to strengthen up. So. It's our year. Minor premiership and the championship this year. Come on. Do the double.
Yep. Do the double. I mean, that's what they are just going to do. So let's, they're going to stop Penrith from getting the 4-peat.
Exactly. 100% going to happen.
Yeah, I feel... I got a call out on my brother Rizad, who's gone like, no, I hope Penrith gets the 4-peat. I think it's really cool. I like them. And I'm like, what about the Warriors? He's like, I know, I should, but I've become a Penrith fan now. And I'm like,
oh man, what happened to you?
What happened to you, man?
Yeah.
I don't mind. He's like, I still support the Breakers over the Wildcats, but it's close. Because that is the big basketball rivalry, right? In the NBL.
Yeah, I think so.
The 7-hour flight rivalry.
Yeah.
that's our predictions for NRL. And our final code, the one that we know nothing about but are going to talk about authoritatively like we know everything.
Exactly.
We go to the AFL. They're literally starting games now, I believe. Currently, it is currently 21-12 Swans against the Demons.
Yeah.
Then tomorrow we will have the Lions play Carlton. I think Lions very unlucky to lose the grand final last year, so I would pick them to come up against the come up and win against the against Carlton, who are a good side. To be fair, but I think the Lions will have it over the Blues in the end. Gold Coast Suns versus Richmond. I think Gold Coast have been bad for a long time. And I don't see that improving this season, so I'd expect the Tigers to take that one up in Queensland. Then we have the GWS playing Collingwood.
Yeah.
Look, I hope GWS wins. I absolutely despise Collingwood. They made the Giants made it to the playoffs last year, and the Magpies are obviously the dominant team in this competition been a dominant team in this competition for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to it's up there in Sydney. There should be a crowd up for it. But hopefully there'll be more Giants fans than Collingwood fans in the stand, and hopefully the Giants will win that one.
I think in that case, this Collingwood's defending champs, right? So that might be a bit more of a long shot there.
Yeah.
So it is up in GWS, so it's at their home base, so that always.
It's up in West Sydney, which is always a hostile place to travel to in any sport.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
It just gives that little bit of a boost to the Giants. So.
Then we have Carlton versus Richmond. I think it's going to be very, very close. Both clubs have been decent. Like AFL is similar to NRL, where basically I think after about Team 5 to about Team 13 are all really good. Like heck, defending champions Geelong last season couldn't make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So didn't make it to the playoffs. So that's how competitive this league is and how quickly things change.
Yeah.
But I think the Blues will just sneak that in their home ground. We have Collingwood versus the Swans. Again, another competitive team, but this one's being played at the MCG, so I think Maggies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Then we have my beloved Essendon Bombers playing against the Hawthorn Hawks. Come on, boys, you're playing at home, so I'm backing them to beat the Hawks.
Fair enough.
To get the win there. Next we have GWS play North Melbourne. North Melbourne, they kind of tanked last season. They have gotten a few decent players in the draft, but I think I do think the Giants are a better team and better run, and it's being played in West Sydney, so Giants over the Kangaroos over there. Then we have the Cats against the Saints, being played in Geelong. St Kilda, I think the Saints did a this is like a low-key, very big rivalry
Yeah.
in the sport because St Kilda had to give up some of their some of their scout territory to Geelong. The way they rearranged, we're allowed to get, which kind of stuffed St Kilda's for a long time, but they've kind of come back. I'm picking the Saints to come up for it, go away and get the win there.
Yeah, I'm with the Saints. But if I have a team, it's them. But only because they're by the beach. So,
fair enough. Next, we have the Titans versus the Crows. I think the Crows had just missed out on the playoffs last season. And the Titans are kind of always not that good. So even though it's at home, I think Adelaide will take it through.
Yeah.
In the end. Then we have the Demons versus the Bulldogs. I think the Demons are going through a really good patch at the moment. The Western Bulldogs just missed out on the playoffs, but I expect the Demons to actually improve. I think we might actually have an all Melbourne AFL Grand Final this year. I think it'll be the Demons versus the Magpies.
All right. Yeah.
I'm picking them to kind of go all the way. I don't think and hope they will beat Collingwood, but this is how my AFL goes. I really, really like Essendon above all the other teams. I don't mind any of the other teams. I really hate Collingwood, so I'll support any team that's playing against Collingwood, and I support Essendon. And other teams, I'm just like, oh yeah, who's a good player? Let me just watch. Just enjoy watching some aerial ping pong.
Yeah.
There. Next, we have Port Adelaide versus West Coast. That's at home. For Port, I think the Power are going to thrash the Eagles, unfortunately, who were the wooden spoon last season.
Yeah.
Sure, my brother doesn't want to hear that. I think back-to-back seasons where the Dockers are going to be above the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then the aforementioned Dockers are going to play the Lions on the final game of that first round, and I think the Lions are going to get the win.
Yeah. Quite likely.
Yeah. And just for people who are curious, we are currently in quarter number 2, and the Swans are still in the lead against the Demons, so hopefully the Demons don't make a fool of me and lose badly to the Swans, so expect to come back.
Yeah. I'm sure it will happen.
Absolutely.
It is up in Sydney, so once again, bit of hometown there for the Swans, so who knows.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna make some predictions for top 8, obviously Collingwood, and I obviously think the Demons, Melbourne, are gonna make it through.
Yeah.
I think we are gonna see the Saints back in the back-to-back, and Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
Again, I think we will get the Brisbane Lions again. I do think the Swans will make it again. I always kind of think the Swans are pretty good.
Yeah, the Swans are pretty good. Whenever I've seen them play, they always seem to be playing reasonably well. So,
I also think the Giants are gonna make it again.
Yeah.
So the 2 Sydney teams, 1 Adelaide team, one Brisbane team. And then as a final, this might be me basically being crazy, but Essendon back in the playoffs. That's what's going to happen. I'm sure.
Sure, I'll accept that for you.
I mean, we haven't won a premiership this season, but yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? You never know what can happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. But well, I believe it's going to be a great season. I can't. Like, AFL is something I kind of take an even more casual look at than I do with rugby and rugby league.
Yeah.
And that might change if we ever have a team here in Auckland or New Zealand.
Exactly.
Come on, AFL. You know you want to beat on Union as well.
Yeah, come on, AFL. Sure, it'll be good.
But it should be great. All the oval ball codes. It's the part of the season where it's all exciting. We'll see the picture emerge in the next 6 weeks. See who's good. See who's poor. But yeah, I can't wait. And yeah, I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.